guys, thanks for tuning in again to episode 2 of ContinueGamez. I'm Glenn.
I'm Greg.
And together we're ContinueGamez. This episode we're going to be bringing you our room tours. We're going to be taking you through our collection of games, our setup, and pulling out some of our favorites. So what do you say? Let's get started.
Let's get started.
Let's do it. Hey guys, welcome to my room tour. I'm going to take you through some of the systems that I have, as well as pull out some of my favorite or just games that I like to play. So let's get started. I got a few systems here, as you can see, or maybe not. We're going to do our best. Starting at the top, I have a Wii U. It is a 32 gig Wii U. Try to have as much space for games as possible. In this Asteroids Atari cart, I actually have an external hard drive. I believe it's a 250 gig hard drive, so between the 250 and the 32 here, I have almost 300 gigs of storage available for stuff, which is great. The eShop is starting to get really good on Wii U, and if you have a 3DS, what's awesome about Nintendo, the way they do the eShop, is the money is kind of shared between the both. So if you get a Nintendo points card and you load it up on your account, you'll be able to buy something on either store. I have just a classic Wii that I kind of use for GameCube. You'll see here that I got this SD card slot pulled out of it. My Wii is actually soft modded. I do that so I can play imported Wii games, especially like one you're going to see coming up. That was my main reason for doing it. And I have 4 Wavebirds that I use to plug into it, which is going to be awesome when the Wii U to GameCube adapter comes out. It's going to be great. If you take a peek over here to the right, you'll actually see that I have there's an Amazon Fire TV. I use that for Netflix and stuff. But right next to it is the original Xbox. I'm trying to complete all the Xbox exclusive games. So I'm going to pick out a couple of Xbox games to take a peek at. And I finally found a wireless controller that I was able to pick up. Inside my cabinet here, I have a PS4 along with there's a little dongle plugged in there. I use that for a remote for Blu-rays. The controller really isn't that great. For Blu-rays, I find that they like change the layout. It's just, it can be a real pain. On the bottom, we have a Nintendo 64 with a expansion pack in it. Gotta have that, it's a necessity. I have a PS2 down here that I use for PS2 games. Used to have backwards compatible PS3, don't really have it anymore. I do have a PS3 that I keep upstairs, because I ran out of room down here. And over here, in the right side, we have a Sega Saturn, which has actually died. It no longer boots past the menu screen. It's kind of disappointing. To the right of that, we have a Sega Dreamcast, which is actually hooked up with a VGA cable into an HDMI converter, so I can play some games in 1080p. It looks really, really great. And on the bottom, we actually have a Neo Geo X. I don't know if you've seen this console before or not, but basically, it's almost like an emulator that you can use to play Neo Geo games. It comes with almost a full-size Neo Geo controller. And this little base. But this base is actually a docking system because the system itself is handheld, which is really cool if you want to be able to take it out on the go. It's got a great joystick. The buttons are really nice. The display is a good size. But there's some issue with the video quality, especially when it's plugged into a television. It's not the best. Then the games are kind of expensive. I'm kind of hoping that in time someone releases some software for it so I can run some other things on it instead. But it feels great in your hand, and it looks cool, but it's not quite as cool as having an actual Neo Geo console at your house. But then again, not too many of us have that much disposable income to have laying around at home. And as you can see, another thing with this, you really, really need the push when you put this in here. This is the charging dock as well as the video cable. So whether you want to play it on a TV or you just want to charge it, you have to force it into this dock. It looks awesome, but you have to push it to the point where you feel like you might break it. So just something to keep in mind. Let me show you some of the games I have, starting off with GameCube. I'm big on Nintendo. Nintendo's kind of where I focus my collection on. I'm just going to go through and pull some things out. Here are the Wavebirds I'm talking about. I'm going to start off with Kirby Air Ride. Kirby Air Ride is an awesome racing game. It's 3D. It's almost like if you could say F-Zero, but with Kirby and Nintendo characters. It's really cool. You can pick this up. It's not too crazy expensive. It's getting harder and harder to find complete. I actually grabbed it last year while I was down south visiting some flea markets. If you happen to see it, pick it up. It's a lot of fun. If we move on, a lot of people were mentioning how much they played certain games when they were growing up. This is a game that I discovered a little bit later, but a lot of you were playing Mega Man. And this is the Mega Man X collection for GameCube. This is definitely one of the more expensive games on GameCube. This game complete is probably upwards of $60 at the moment, if not more, depending on where you look. If you want to be able to play the Mega Man X games, as awesome as it is to have this on GameCube, if you don't collect for it, I'd probably lean towards the PS2 version. The PS2 version is literally the same collection of games, and it's probably like a fourth of the price, maybe even a fifth. You can probably pick it up for like 14 bucks, maybe even cheaper. But to be able to play the Mega Man X games, which for Super Nintendo are like upwards of $70, sometimes over $100, depending on where you go, these are great games. And if you're really serious about collecting for GameCube, this is something that you have your eye on for sure. I love Sonic. Sonic was kind of like the big character I grew up with when I was playing. I got into Nintendo when I was a little bit older, but Sonic is kind of where I started. And the Sonic Gems collection is great because it comes with some of the weirder games. It comes with Sonic CD, which is a great Sonic game that you didn't really get to play, unless you were the really spoiled kid in your neighborhood, because nobody had a Sega CD attachment. And if you did, it was probably broken because it wasn't very reliable. I've yet to come across one at a flea market where it actually works. Not to mention there's only one power adapter that you can use with it. So trying to play Sonic CD now can be a little tricky. There's Sonic the Fighters, which is like a 3D, barely 3D fighting game. You can fight with Tails and Knuckles and Sonic, and you fight in like this little boxing ring. It's not the best game, but it's kind of fun. It's at least cool to pick up. And Sonic R is my guilty pleasure. I love Sonic R. You're basically, you pick a Sonic character and you're just running. It's a race, and you're running through like a generated 3D Sonic world. The graphics aren't the best, the music is great, it's fun for what it is, and you have to remember when this game came out, I mean, it was like the mid-90s. It was on the Saturn, which was struggling to survive, so it's not the best, but I mean, once again, you want to be able to play it. As you can see, my Saturn died, so this is kind of the only thing I have to go with if I want to play that. I'm going to move on to something a little more classic. This game is not rare, this game is not expensive, it's just awesome. I grew up playing Tony Hawk Pro Skater and Tony Hawk Pro Skater 3. I wish it was Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2 because I play the heck out of that on 64. But Tony Hawk Pro Skater 3 for GameCube is great. The soundtrack is amazing, and there's probably not too many more games that are fun to sit down with someone on the couch and try to play skate, or to get the highest score, or just try to see what cool tricks you can pull off. And I mean, I know I said it already, but the soundtrack is awesome. Games with awesome soundtracks, this is right up there with some of the best. Not quite Crazy Taxi, but it's close. This is kind of like my prized possession in my Wii collection. This is the whole reason I soft-modded my Wii. This is Fatal Frame 4. It's only on Wii, and it's only in Japanese, so if you want to play it, there's really only one way you can. Well, two, I guess. One, learn Japanese and get a Japanese Wii and play it, or two, soft mod your Wii so you can play Japanese games on it. There's actually a patch you can download so that you can play this game in English, and it translates it for you as it plays. So it's really the only way to make it through this game. You can't play this game in Japanese unless you know it, because there's so much text and so many clues that you have to read to complete it. But if you really love Fatal Frame, it's something that you have to get to have the whole collection. Unless, hopefully, they come out with Fatal Frame in English for Wii U, which would be amazing. Big game for me on Wii. Also stay with the price tag. Always make sure you take the time to clean them, pull them off. But this game, $13 at the time when I bought it, The Godfather for Wii. A lot of people, I mean, I don't know how you feel about this game. I feel like a lot of people think that it's just a GTA kind of clone, and in a way it is. But, I mean, this shows off why the Wii was so awesome. When you have to break into a store or threaten a store owner, you have to grab them and physically throw them through the window. So, I mean, this took advantage of the Wii controls, and it just made it fun to play. And it also kind of had a throwback to some of the earlier GTA games where your reputation with each gang came into play. There are neighborhoods in here when you start to do favors for gangs where you can drive through and, you know, get by without getting hurt too bad. But then again, once you start to offend some of the other gangs, it can start to get pretty hairy. But that control scheme is the same throughout the entire game, and it's awesome. And you got to give Nintendo props, because this is rated M, and they're starting to get a little more brave. But when this came out in like 2007, 2006, right around there, this is pretty, this was a big deal at the time. And they really took some risks. There's violence, there's language, there's even a little nudity in this game. So, I mean, it deserves that M rating. But it's definitely fun. We got one more on this side. Also, price tag still, but shows you it's cheap. This is $6.29, and it's the SNK Arcade Classics. You want to be able to play different King of Fighters games. You want to play some Metal Slug, except for the Metal Slug Anthology on Wii. You can play them right on here. This is a great collection from an awesome company. SNK makes awesome fighters, awesome action games, and unless you have a ton of money to spend on Neo Geo, I don't, so I have that fake console, but this is a great way for you to play some classic arcade games on your Wii. Taking a walk right over here. I have a few more Wii games, but we're going to focus on Wii U. Everybody knows about Mario Kart 8. This is the reason a lot of people are starting to buy a Wii U. The graphics in Mario Kart 8 are awesome. Nintendo took a long time to kind of take advantage of the Wii U hardware, but they really did it with Mario Kart 8. There's a total of 8 cups in this game. And it's 4 retro cups and 4 new cups. And they go through and they update some of the classic courses. You have Toad's Highway on here. You have a Wario Stadium from DS, not from 64. You have Yoshi's Track, where you go through the mining area. There's a lot of great courses here that you remember, and a lot of awesome new ones too. It kind of takes the same control scheme from Mario Kart 7, where you can kind of drift around the corners and get the extra boost. It's very fun, it's very addictive, and it's got the online play, so you really can't beat it. This is my cat. His name's Bruce. I don't know if you can see him. He's this giant Maine Coon. There he is. This is for scale. This is how big this cat is. This is like, I don't even know how many games this is. He's huge. He's like 6 years old, I think. He's pretty awesome. He's behaving for the most part, but he's a good cat. Yeah, I know. Oh, and he bit me on camera. It's messed up. I'm starting to get into DS. Here I have Diddy Kong Racing. Diddy Kong Racing was one of the best racing games for 64. Not the best, that's Mario Kart 64 for sure, but Diddy Kong Racing, this is a great port of it for your DS. So if you're looking for a racing game, you're just sick of Mario Kart, pick this up. Believe it or not, this suffers from the same fate that most DS games suffer from. This is what I got from GameStop, and this is actually a printed out case. It looks really, really good. I'll go into a little bit more detail on how you can do that. I'm sure you can Google it and find out yourself, but I'll show you some of the websites I go to a little later on, as well as where I get these cases from. Because trying to find down these cases is pretty hard, especially to find some good ones for a good price. If you want to spend a lot of money, sure, you can definitely find them. But if you don't want to go crazy and you'd rather spend your money on games, I'll show you what you can do. Moving on to some of the Xbox games that I have. Panzer Dragoon Orta, which is basically the sequel to Panzer Dragoon that was on Sega Saturn. Panzer Dragoon can be a very expensive series. I was fortunate enough to hold Panzer Dragoon Saga in my hand at a game store, and I quickly put it down when I realized it was almost $500. I knew it was going to be expensive, but I didn't want to hold anything that pricey in my hand. If you're looking for a sequel, or a spiritual sequel, I should say, to Panzer Dragoon, this is a great way to play it. It's the only way to play it. It's only on Xbox. It's a 3D shooter. It's over the shoulder. It's kind of like third person, and basically you're on a dragon and you have to shoot stuff. It's a good time. Wasn't planning on talking about this, but if you want to play RoboCop, the only way for you to play is if I believe if you're in Europe and you have a PS2, or if you have Xbox. It's not good, but it follows the original storyline of RoboCop a little bit, and it's really, really cheesy. Winback. This is not an Xbox exclusive either, but I love Winback on 64. It's a third-person shooter. You get the laser sight. It's just a lot of fun. This is also on Xbox, but I mean, nothing special. You can get this on PS2. 2 more games I want to mention. Hexen on PlayStation. One of the first games that I played was probably Return to Castle Wolfenstein 3D and Doom. So I kind of grew up on first-person shooters. So to be able to play Hexen on an actual console is pretty neat. Basically, it's a first-person shooter that takes place in like a fantasy world. So it's a little bit different. I won't lie to you, the controls are a little weird. You kind of miss having a keyboard, but it's fun and it's cheap to pick up. And last but not least, Road Rash for PlayStation. I used to play this on Genesis all the time. I don't have a Sega Genesis at the moment, but I do have plenty of ways to play it for PlayStation. Road Rash is a great series. It's pretty intense. You know what Road Rash is, but you get weapons, you can knock people off bikes, you just get to upgrade your bike. It's got an awesome soundtrack. It's just a good time. And it's cheap. A fun game that you can grab at a great price. I mean, it doesn't get much better than that. I hope you guys enjoyed me going through my collection, showing you some of my systems, my setup, and some of my games. If there's any games that you want to hear a little bit more about, let us know. Give us a shout out on Twitter or Instagram, or send us an email. Let me know if I missed anything. You can even correct me. I won't get offended. And that's it. Thanks for tuning in.
What's up, guys? I'm Greg with ContinueGamez, and this is going to be my room tour. Look forward to going over a lot of different games. So let's just jump right in and get started. First thing when we go into my room, just to show you guys the framed poster of Uncharted. Uncharted is my favorite game of all time. I love the series, love Drake, just love the story. So I found this somewhere, framed it. I think it's really cool. But let's head into the room. First thing right here to the left is basically my game layout, if you would. I have 3 monitors set up. Well, actually, I have 2 monitors set up, and the one in the center is actually a television that I play my games on. And then my consoles are simply right here. The only games that I actually collect for and systems that I have are PlayStation. I have the PS2, PS3, PS4, and I do have a Dreamcast. Like we said in our first pickup video, I love the Sega Dreamcast. So this is what I collect for. I'm a PlayStation guy, and I do collect for the Sega Dreamcast. Moving on, starting over here, first thing I wanted to talk to you guys about is my Sega Dreamcast collection. Right now, I have 47 Dreamcast games. You know, pretty standard stuff. Most importantly that I wanted to note with you guys is my favorite game in the Dreamcast library is Shamu. Love this game. It pushed the Dreamcast and just showed you that next step. Love it. And I like it so much, I actually found, one day when I was out, I found Shamu 2, the Japan import. It's totally complete, has all the certs, has everything. It is, of course, in Japanese, but it does have English subtitles. It's just awesome. This is one of my favorite things in my entire collection. So, moving on down is my PS1 collection. Right now, I have 225 PS1 games. To show you a couple of standouts in PS1 for me, some of my favorites. First one that I have is Discworld 2. Morality Bites. This I actually played when I was younger on PC. I found it again on PS1. It's a point-and-click adventure. It's a cartoon-based game that is just so funny. It's got a lot of witty jokes, a lot of humor in it. It still makes me laugh today. Just so good. Really enjoy that game. Next, moving down, I wanted to show you guys in the series that I have. A lot of really good fighters were on the PS1. I have Marvel Superheroes, Marvel vs. Street Fighter, and Marvel vs. Capcom. I mean, a lot of really good fighters, really great fun on PS1. Enjoy all of them. And finally, to point out, what's on my collection, one of my favorite games of all time on PS1 is Silent Hill. Just enjoy the heck out of this game. I remember being a little kid and getting this, and it was one of the first games that the horror, even though it was so great, took a backseat to the psychological story that this game took you on. Resident Evil was before it and was a great game, and I love the RE series, don't get me wrong, but this game was first for me to... I was less scared in it because I was so enthralled in the story. It was so good and just so much fun. From beginning to end. Love the Silent Hill series. Huge fan of it. If you guys check us out on Instagram, I recently posted a picture. Got a lot of really good feedback from you guys, and I love that. Moving on over here is my PS2 collection. As of right now, I believe I have about 450 PS2 games. Some of my favorite in the series, in my series right now of PS2 games, Kill Switch. pretty common game, but I just love the duck and cover aspect of this game. It's a lot of fun. And one of the interesting things about this game is the creators of Uncharted said they actually got Drake's motions and Drake's covering from Killswitch. So I guess that's kind of where I found my first connection with Uncharted, was Killswitch. Moving down here, I know I'm going to butcher how to say this, but the Onimusha series, 1 through 4, going to Dawn of Dreams, played all 4 of these actually. When I moved into this apartment, I moved from San Diego, and I didn't pack my PS3 with me. I packed it on the transport, so it took a couple of weeks to come. But I did pack my PS2, and I packed these 4 games, and I beat all 4 of them before my PS3 got here. And they're just so good. I recently played these, like I said, at the beginning of the year. So good, so much fun. Surprisingly challenging, the first one was. They did get easier as they progressed. So good, though. Really a lot of fun. They do also have a fighter that was included, Onimusha Blade Warriors, but unless you're really into fighters, you can probably skip this one. Not all that great, in my opinion. One thing I definitely want to touch on in my PS2 collection is one of my favorite platformers of all time. It's honestly one of my favorite games. If you can look, I actually have a Ratchet in my collection. To honor him is the Ratchet and Clank games. I absolutely love Ratchet and Clank. As you can see, I have all of them. I even have Ratchet and Clank HD for PS3. I can't say enough good things about Ratchet and Clank. So much fun, especially the first 3 games in the series. Just a blast to have. Makes you feel like a little kid. They make you laugh. Just great platforming action. Moving on over here to my PS3 collection, as I'm over here in the corner. My PS3 collection, I have about 250 PS3 games. Not going to really touch on them that much, but if you can't tell by the huge poster behind my head, I love the Assassin's Creed games. I actually have the Templar Order here, and over on that side of the room is the Brotherhood. So you guys get to kind of choose, which side are you on? Are you on the Templar Order or the Brotherhood? So I love Assassin's Creed. But moving on, a couple games that I picked out for you guys to talk about. First one that I wanted to note on was Far Cry 3. The reason why I love this game so much is I waited for this game to drop in price to about $15 because I didn't think it was going to be that good. And I couldn't be more wrong. This was one of my favorite games of last year. It was awesome. I played it from beginning to end, went back, played it again and again after I beat the main missions, and I normally never do that. This game was so good. The main villain in the story was he was such a good villain. I can't say enough good things about this game. It was just so good in and out. Next that I want to talk to you guys about, Metal Gear Solid 4. We all know about the Metal Gear Solid franchise. There's can't be enough good things to be said about this. The reason why I want to touch on Metal Gear Solid 4 with you guys, to me, this is the best game in the series. Now, I know that's a lot to say about it, but the reason why this is the best game in the series, other than the story, which is great, other than the fact that you get to play as aging Snake, which is also great, this, to me, is what made the PS3 awesome. It showed what the PS3 could do. In 2008, in my opinion, the PS3 was struggling. It had a really bad launch, but then Metal Gear came around and wowed everybody. If you don't think this game really wowed people and you don't think this game was awesome for the time, the ending was 47 minutes long. It was like watching a movie at the end. And I remember when it finished, my jaw was open. My mouth was open. It was just I was amazed that I was actually still playing a game. Just such a good game from beginning to end. Can't wait for the 5th Metal Gear. I don't know how it's going to top it, but I just, if you know the series, they always top each other. So, really like that one. Moving on, if you guys ever watch South Park, if you've ever even watched one episode, you owe it to yourself to play South Park: The Stick of Truth. This game is so much fun. it's an RPG, kind of, but it's a simplified RPG in my opinion. You know, it's one that you can just kind of play with your buddies. The best way that I can put this game is all of the bad storylines, you know, that were too bad to go on TV, meaning that they were just too, what's the word I'm looking for?
Offensive.
That's it. The storylines that were just too offensive to go on television, they put in this game. Some of the moments in it, you just are like, wow, did that just happen? It is hysterical. It is absolutely hysterical, this game. I bought this game and beat it in 3 days because I could not stop playing it. Love the South Park Stick of Truth. Just love it. I really, really hope that there's a sequel to this. I really, really hope they do. And the other thing that's great about this, and I do want to note, this game succeeded where Family Guy, Back to the Multiverse, absolutely failed. This game, South Park Stick of Truth, looks like the show. Looks exactly like the show. Looks like you're watching an episode of the show. You can make a character so you're playing like a character that looks like you in the show. Everything looks like the show. This is a very, very poor, kind of sketchy, computerized version. It looks like a cheap cop-out to it. So, not a fan at all of the Family Guy. Stick with South Park. Really enjoy it. Even if you don't watch South Park, pick it up. It's a great game. One of my favorites of the year. Finally, what I want to touch on is what we talked about as soon as I walked in. My favorite game of all time is Uncharted. I absolutely love Uncharted. It's my favorite game that I've ever played. Such an enthralling storyline. Love Drake. Love the game. I can't say enough about it. I could go on for this entire room tour about Uncharted and the whole series. But what I wanted to note, what I kind of think is cool about my collection is my wife, her family, half of her family is from Holland. I went over to visit there, and while I was there, I wanted to get something that was memorable. So one of the things that I got was the European cover of Uncharted. So I actually have both the American cover and I have the European cover of Uncharted. And that was kind of my little pickup to myself of the, you know, of the memory of the trip. So I thought that was kind of cool. It's the exact same game. There's nothing different. It was just a change in the covers. That's really how much I like the game. While I was there, actually, now that I'm remembering, I actually, like I said, I love Ratchet & Clank a lot. I actually also got Ratchet & Clank Quest for Booty, which was only released in Europe. It was actually released on the PlayStation Network here in America. So I have this as a hard copy as well, which is really cool. So a couple of things that I picked up while I was in Europe. So that's my PS3 collection, guys. For as far as PS4, right now I only have about 10 games. I got the system in the beginning of the year. So I only have really one game that I really wanted to talk to you guys about, and that's Infamous Second Son. I have the other two Infamous games on PS3, which are awesome. They're totally great games, but Infamous Second Son really made the system really made the series come full circle. Really great voice acting, really made the PS4 shine. Excellent game to grab. If you have the PS4, this is probably one of the games you want to start your collection off with. So that's my room tour, guys. I really hope that you liked it. I really hope you enjoyed it. Please start following us on Twitter, Instagram. Follow us on email. Let us know what you guys want to see. Correct me if I've made any mistakes. Tell me what you like. Tell me what you don't like. Tell me what you think of my room. We always like the feedback. So that was our room tour, guys. We really hope that you enjoyed it.
I had fun.
I had fun too. Not necessarily the most rare games or expensive games, just games that we enjoyed as gamers. So the most important thing is we want to hear from you guys. We want to know what games you want us to review. That's the most important interaction. So follow us.
Definitely. There's a few ways you can get in contact with us. Everything is at ContinueGamez with a Z. We're on Instagram. We're on Twitter. And you can send us an email over at Gmail, ContinueGamez@gmail.com. So let us know. We're also doing a thing where you can ask us questions at the end of every episode. Just tweet at us at ContinueGamez with the hashtag ContinueQA. We actually have one question that we had answered, so thank you for reaching out to us. Just stay tuned to the end of the episode. It's after the credits.
Yep.
And you'll get to check it out there.
A little bonus feature for everybody.
Yeah, definitely. Speaking of bonus features,
Yep.
we got something going on.
We do. This weekend, too many games. I can't wait for this convention. I'm so excited. We've been waiting for this for months.
Yeah, it's been forever.
It's been forever. So I can't wait for this gaming convention. I'm looking to pick up some games this week. Looking for some survival horror stuff.
Yep,
I will say right now, if anyone is holding Rule of Rose when I get there, I'm going to tackle them and take it from them. I'm only kidding. I've been looking for this game for years. Never seen it. I've never seen it in the wild. I've never seen it in game stores. I've never seen it anywhere, but I want to play this game so bad. So Rule of Rose is definitely my #1 pick. Also looking for Haunting Ground on PS2.
A lot of survival horror.
Yeah, a lot of survival horror. That's what I'm all about right now. And I'm also looking to complete that kind of Capcom versus or Marvel versus, whatever you guys want to call it, on PS1, that series of fighting games that I showed you guys in my room tour. I want, I believe it's Street Fighter versus X-Men. Or Capcom versus X-Men. Correct me on the name. I believe it is
X-Men versus Street Fighter.
X-Men versus Street Fighter. There we go. That's what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
So those are my 3 that I'm looking for at this Too Many Games convention.
Awesome. I'm definitely keeping the survival horror thing going myself. I'm trying to find Fatal Frame 3. You guys saw Fatal Frame 4 in my collection. A prized possession.
Yeah.
I'm trying to complete the collection. That's the last one I need before I get started to play them like all straight through. So hopefully I'll come across it while I'm out there. I'm also looking for Kirby Return to Dreamland for Wii, which is starting to get pretty pricey. A complete copy's around like $50.
Yeah.
So hopefully I can find it at like a little bit of a deal. Nothing too crazy, I hope. And lastly, I'm starting to get into 3DS. I have a 2DS that you guys saw in the video, and I'm looking for Cave Story 3D. Originally, it was a DS game, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong. It was all 2D, and then they remade it for 3DS. It's supposed to be awesome, and it's been showing up at GameStop lately, but it's cart only, which is
That kills me.
Which is the worst, man.
Gotta find them complete. That's what it's about.
Whatever you do, do not throw out the case.
Yeah.
But remember, always press continue. Hey guys, a little bonus after the episode. Thought we'd throw in a little something for you. We're always talking about how we want to hear from you, how you can reach out to us. Don't worry, I won't repeat it again. But Twitter, Instagram, email, and we actually got a few tweets. We're trying to actually do a little bit of a Q&A every time we record. We'll post it up on Twitter, we'll post it up on Instagram, and basically it's hashtag ContinueQA all together. We'll search that hashtag and try to answer as many questions from you as possible. We put it up a little late today. It's kind of the first time we're doing it. Bear with us. Try to be patient. But basically, you throw out as many questions as you want. You can do it throughout the week. We'll make sure that we remind you guys and talk about it so you don't forget. We know you're busy. It's hashtag ContinueQA, and we'll try to answer your questions. We actually got one, which isn't bad considering it was only like 10 minutes ago.
We just started this, so yeah, thanks guys. It's awesome.
You guys are on top of it. Ours is from How Mad. It's HOWEMAD on Twitter. So or maybe it's at Howie Mad. Whichever. Got your question. Thank you. And he says, "What is the strangest thing you have ever found when game hunting?" And we have a couple.
Yeah. You go first.
All right. Mine's pretty strange. It's more gross than strange, but whatever. Last summer. I think last summer. Last summer?
I think it was last summer.
I was fortunate enough.
It was hot.
It was really hot. It was like July.
Yeah.
I was fortunate enough to run into a guy at the flea market who had a lot of consoles. A lot. I'm talking probably, like every time he would come, he would pack this huge van just full of stuff. I have no idea.
He was a van guy. He looked like he lived in his van.
No, but I don't know how he could possibly live in the van because the van was stuffed from window to window.
Yeah,
just,
that's true.
You know what? I won't say it, but it was just stuffed with it. Okay? A ton of it. And I have no idea how you could drive this car, let alone put anything else in it. But whatever. All the systems, since I told him, like, listen, we'll be buying a bunch of stuff from you. I'll come here every week. I'm like what's the best you can do? And he goes, $5. And I'm like, now, there's no wires, there's no controllers, just systems. So I'm like, okay.
And or guarantee that they'll work.
There's no guarantee that they'll work. But I mean, he's got everything from NES consoles to Genesis, Dreamcast, and 64. 64 was the big one. Apparently he had a storage unit that he just had a ton of these things in. So he's like, yeah, any 64, $5. So I'm like, okay. So, I'm getting them. and they're disgusting. But we all see dirty consoles. You saw filthy Dreamcast last week, so not too surprising. So I get a bunch of them, and I'm like, whatever, I'll clean them up, not a problem. In a future video, I'll actually show you how you can clean up and fix a 64. But I'm going through, I open up this console, and
it was an NES, right?
It was 64.
Oh, it was a 64?
Yeah.
Okay, see, I don't even remember myself. Okay.
You wouldn't want to remember.
Oh,
I
yeah.
open this up, and it's full of spiders. I hate spiders. Like, I'm seriously getting goosebumps thinking about it. All over it. Now, they're dead, but when I open it and they fall out, it doesn't matter, because I, jump back.
And you opened this in your home, right?
I opened this in my, office, and I have and I hate them. So I'm like, oh God, what do I do? So I grab my vacuum, and I, suck them all up, and I just throw it out, and I take the trash out. It was horrible. And I don't know, man, if I bought a lot of consoles from him. It probably happened every third or fourth console. They all worked, but they were disgusting. So you just got to be prepared for what you might come across when you're at the flea market. You can get a great deal, especially when something doesn't look so great. But, I mean, you never know, man. You never know.
Yeah.
What do you got?
Mine was, for 2 years, I lived in San Diego. And right where I lived, I was pretty much right on the border. And I mean, to the point that if you missed your turn, you were in Mexico. And right along the border, there was a lot of outlets and there was a lot of flea markets. My wife loved
awesome.
Yeah, right? My wife loved going to the outlets. The nice outlets where you bought nice things at a great discount. I liked going to the flea markets. The flea markets that were full of dirt and chickens.
Nice.
Lots and lots. I've never seen so many chickens in my life. And one of the things that happened all the time, which was shocking to me, was you would walk up to a vendor and there would just be these chickens walking around on their boxes of things. And you would just be like, can I get to that? And they would just be like, yeah, go for it. Do you mind moving your chickens out of the way? You normally, you walk into a store and if someone has a dog or something, they keep it behind the counter.
Sure.
Not these guys and these things. They were just like, you make your way around the chicken, man. So this one time I came up, I saw this crate of games with a chicken standing on top of it. And I was just like, all right, here we go. I go to move the chicken out of the way. I grab a game and all the games are wet. But it's one of those things, we've all seen wet games, but I know where this wetness came from. And I was just like, all right, fine. And I got to give this guy props. He had the guts to look at me and go, what, you're not going to buy anything? No, man, I'm not going to buy anything. And I just had to walk away. That was the strangest thing I've ever seen in a flea market. Gotta love it.
I mean, even if you don't find anything great, it's going to be an experience.
Yep, it's always an experience. It's always fun.
Yeah, man. Just a reminder, going to Too Many Games convention this weekend.
Cannot wait.
Check our social media. You're going to see pics on Twitter. You're going to see stuff on Instagram. We're going to be trying to show you as much as possible. And also, when we come back, our next video is going to be a pickup video of what we got while we were there. So we're not going to, maybe we'll take pictures. We'll obscure it a little bit. You guys can try to guess. Make a game out of it. It'll be a good time.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
Awesome, man.
And most importantly,
always remember
to press continue.